Mr. Troy, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Beautiful day today.
No. I'm ready for spring. Mm-hmm.
June is over. Okay. We will call this meeting to order. So I'll call to order the Town of Delafield Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, March 14th. Dan, if you'll do a roll call.
Stand for the pledge.
The pledge is after the roll call on your agenda.
Is it? Oh, oops. All right, Supervisor Miller,
Present.
Kranek,
Present.
and Chairman
Troy.
Troy. Thank you.
Now, if you'd all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Oh, I see, now it's a roll call. Anyhow, it's fine. Citizen comments, anybody? No. Okay, no citizen comments. Approval of the minutes of February 14th. Any corrections?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented by the clerk.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented by the clerk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Action on vouchers submitted for payment. I believe there's a 2022 budget motion, budget amendment. And I'm hoping Mr. Kranek will.
Yeah, I don't know if the administrator wants to give an update or if we
Sure.
just.
So these are amendments that after Howard, our accountant, has gone through our budget, he recommended these changes. We recently changed our budget so that we have just our main areas of focus, so we don't have to amend budget line items. So these are just general accounts that we need to update. The reasoning being increases in the 2% dues that weren't part of the 2022 budget. Park and Rec increases were from some improvements that we took out of the Park and Rec fund. And then capital equipment, those were from ARPA purchases that we made. And so those were all backed by ARPA revenues. So the recommendations are general fund expenditure accounts 10-52100-298, increased by $1,382. Account 10-52300-298 by $66,057. And account 10-52400-299 increased by $13,370. Those are general fund expenditures. And then amend general fund expenditures account 10-55300-392 by $21,520. General fund expenditure accounts 10-53310-810 by $251,570. Debt service accounts 30-58100-690 by $50,095. And debt service account 30-58100-610 by $2,614,999. And impact fee account 23-57620-820 by $116,833. So that would be the motion. And then just a brief description on the debt service accounts. Those are for refunding expenditures and the actual refunding of the bond. So we brought in revenue from our new bond. Those are payments to our old bond. And then the impact fee was from the impact fees that we spent on the park last year. So that would be the motion I'd look for.
We'll make a motion to amend the 2022 budget to increase the following accounts as just described by the town administrator and laid out in the March 14th, 2023 memo to the town board.
A second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the amendment of the 2022 budget as presented by the town administrator. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Accounts payable and payroll.
For accounts payable, I'll make a motion to approve payments of checks 66477 through 66545 in the amount of $8,710,757.65, and checks 66553 through 66559 and 66562 through 66582 in the amount of $138,099.69.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the payroll the payroll checks in the accounts payable as presented. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. To my knowledge, there are no communications, and we have no unfinished business. So we'll move on to new business and discussion and possible action on the approval of a temporary Class B beer license to the Church of the Resurrection for a musical montage fundraiser event on April 29th, 2023, from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Sure, this is just an event that's happening on April 29th. I checked through the application, everything looks good. They did submit their temporary bartender license for the server for the event, and I recommend approval.
Motion to approve the temporary Class B for the Church of Resurrection for their event on April 29th, 2023.
A second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the April 29th, 2023 temporary Class B license, beer license to the Church of the Resurrection from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on the adoption of financial policies. Dan, we've been working on this for a while, so this is,
Yeah, so these are just general finance policies to help guide us during the budget time. Some of them are pretty straightforward and straight off of the, the GFOA's website. And some of them are at the discretion of the town and the board. You can see some are just general definitions of fund balance, different types of fund balances that we have. A lot of this is more for our internal use, for myself and for Howard and staff. But there are a few pieces, one being regarding debt and how we utilize debt. And you can see there, some of the examples are the town will confine long-term borrowing to capital improvements. Issues shall not exceed a maturity of 20 years. And then one of the big ones here is the total annual debt service for the town shall not exceed $1,000 per capita for any given fiscal year. So it puts some restraint on how we spend and how we borrow. And then just some other definitions and things that we go through are, how we deal with vacancies, how we use our expenditures, how we do general fund expenditures compared to other funds, and how the town receives its revenue and what revenue sources that we receive those. So it's good to have in place, and it's pretty standard for most municipalities to have these. I'm kind of surprised we didn't have them prior to this, but it's good to have these and refresh them every couple of years too. So.
and Howard's seen all this and approves it.
Howard's reviewed, made some changes, and I've incorporated those changes. So,
Yeah. It's pretty dry.
yeah, it's not a fun read, but
Yeah.
Motion to adopt the financial policies for the town of Delafield as presented.
A second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the financial policies for the town of Delafield as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Nice job. Discussion and possible action on the adoption of ordinance 2023-07, an ordinance to repeal and recreate portions of the Chapter 19 of the Town of Delafield Town Code concerning regulations of parks.
this was brought forward about a year and a half ago. It was removed from the agenda. Originally, the purpose was to clean up our lake patrol policies, but we found that they were actually written in a separate chapter in our code, so we had already adopted these. But then these kind of fell to the wayside, and so we're here to bring these back. And it cleans up a lot of old references to the Recreation Commission, which is no longer part of the town. Gives staff the direction to take care of those issues. It also gives a clear definition of when our parks are open and closed, which the police department has requested from us. So instead of being open from dusk till dawn, they'll be open until 9 p.m. so that our officer can enforce curfew and things like that. It also changes that time for the skate park, which had a separate time than our regular park operating hours. And then I believe this also has in it some a section under 21 flying objects, and that has to do with regulations of drones. We had some drone complaints in subdivisions, and we wanted to try and put some restrictions on those so that people weren't flying drones all over the place. So otherwise, everything else is basically getting rid of the commission references. And there was also a piece in here about dogs in the park and trying to control picking up after people's dogs. So we have that mechanism in this ordinance as well.
But I think it's just a continuing saga of redoing all of our ordinances.
Yeah, and this was already approved by our attorney back when we brought it forward a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So.
I have a question regarding the time when the skateboard area closes. What's the time?
It's in regulations with 19.01, which is in this chapter, and it's the same as the park
Oh, okay.
operating hours. So it'd be from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
9 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Motion to adopt ordinance 2023-07, an ordinance to repeal and recreate portions of Chapter 19 of the Town of Delafield Town Code concerning regulations of the parks.
A second?
I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2023-07 concerning regulations of the parks for the town of Delafield. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now we'll go on to announcements of planning. The Plan Commission meeting is Tuesday, March 21st. I will not be here for that. Town Board is March 28th. We do have kind of a crowded agenda for March 28th. And then the spring election is April 4th. And the Town Board meeting is therefore April 11th at 6:30. Any comments, questions?
I will be absent on the 28th.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll try to get when do you leave?
I leave Friday, the 24th.
So we'll have to,
We'll have the agenda out.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
could just get with Dan with any comments or,
Okay.
because there's quite a few things we're going to take action on, including
Good.
the sign policy and some other.
I'll send some of this stuff over to you before the agenda is published, so you
Thank you.
can look at it.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Then I'll
Motion to adjourn.
A second?
have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.